Sandy, a volunteer with AARP, and I'm here to help you kick off our new fitness programming. Can everyone hear me pretty well? Okay, good, good. So, Moving It has three programs to help keep you fit. Our program today is Tai Chi, and it will be delivered by a Jewish Community Center instructor on Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Our second program is Forever Fit, which has been developed and will be delivered by the Jewish Community Center of St. Louis. Now, this program takes place every Monday at 10:30. Our third program is Moving with Val, and it will be on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. on AARP Missouri Facebook and the YouTube channel. Now, this fitness series is open to anyone, anywhere, so please tell your friends and family. Moving It is a part of our overall program, The Good Life with AARP, which provides you with tips, ideas, and experiences to help you live your best life. Now, I encourage you to check out other programs by going to aarp.org/Missouri. So, is everybody ready for Tai Chi?
Okay.
Okay, Shelly, we can get started.
Okay. So, as usual, we'll start with our warm-ups. If anyone is here for the first time, this is a modified form of Tai Chi. It comes out of the Yang family tradition. If you're not very familiar with Zoom, if you want me to be the largest image, you can click on my picture and select pin, or you can go to the view icon in the upper right corner and select speaker view. If you have gallery view, then you see everybody at the same size. Okay, and if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. Uh, uh, the chat window, I guess you'd call it, or you can ask. When we're paused in between things, you can press your space bar to speak, and then just release it with when you're done speaking. That way, you don't have to unmute and mute again. All right, then. So we're going to start off with some breathing exercises to warm up. We'll start with our feet in a small V. This position, this posture is called point. So the heels don't touch, very small space between the feet. And we use that time really to settle. So we take a few moments to relax and settle. Start by just settling your breathing, just breathing naturally and in a relaxed way. Let the tip of your tongue gently touch the roof of your mouth behind your teeth, and the lips should be closed. With the tip of the tongue touching the roof of the mouth, the teeth don't touch. So that means you can't inadvertently grind or clench your teeth like some of us do. And just settle your breathing. Allow your attention to be more internal. So you're aware of your rhythm of breath. Visualize the full three-dimensionality of your lungs. And as you inhale, the lungs expanding outward and downward in all directions. And as you exhale, tension and stress leaving the body. The head is suspended as though suspended by the crown, and your feet are relaxed, firmly rooted to the earth. I'll be doing the mirror image. So bending the knees and hips, shift into the right foot, step out with the left foot to the left, point the toes straight, about hip width distance. Then as you shift into the left foot, just allow your hips to line up with the right foot. Then turn your waist, pivoting on the center of the right heel, shift to the middle, and as you rise, just place the hands on the lower abdomen. So the knees should not be locked. Actually, we never want to have any stress in the joints. And check your feet, make sure they are parallel. So we want the feet to be parallel and hip width distance so that the center of the hip joint, the bone, lines up with the center of the foot. We'll spend a few moments here. And just relaxing the breath, having the hands gently on the lower abdomen also just helps relax and release tension in the body. So the main principles of Tai Chi are principles of movement. Relax, keeping the body upright, separating the weight, moving from the waist, from this area. And We'll illustrate these as we go through the basic movement patterns. Okay, first bringing the hands away from the body, turning the palms upward. Now let your elbows feel heavy here. We want the shoulders relaxed. And breathing in, as you bend the elbows, the fingertips rise along the center line, up to the center of the sternum, turn down and exhale as you go back down. We want the elbows to feel heavy the whole time, the fingertips light, breathing in and out. That's going to help keep our shoulders relaxed. We don't want tension in the body. Breathing in, expanding in all directions, and breathing out. And we'll do one more. Inhale and exhale. The arms go out to the sides, palms face up, elbows feel heavy. Again, take a moment here. Some people don't turn sideways. I'm just turning sideways for demonstration. Some people, when they turn the hands up, they have a tendency to lean back with the upper body. We want to keep this relaxed and the hips relaxed. So if you have a little bend in the hip joint, the elbows stay heavy, so the energy is going out the fingers. Now, keeping the shoulders relaxed, breathing in. Again, the elbows bend as the fingertips rise. Exhale down the center line. And breathing in, elbows feel heavy, fingertips so light, and the fingertips come together in front of the head just above, and exhale. And even though the arms are rising, the feet still maintain their connection with the earth, breathing in and out, and the hands back, resting on the lower abdomen. For relaxed breathing and for centering. Now I'll remind you of the three heavies are the knees. You want your knees to feel heavy, never locked. Allow your tailbone to feel as though it has some weight, relaxing and opening the lower back. And the elbows have weight. Allowing the shoulders and neck and jaw, everything relaxes and releases tension. And the head is easing upward. The three lights are the head, the eyes, and the hands and fingertips, very lightly on the body. Now, without changing your rhythm of breathing, let your arms hang by your sides, slowly swinging the arms. Very small movement to start. So if you have shoulder issues, if you've had shoulder surgery or you get a frozen shoulder, this movement can be even smaller, as long as there's some movement here. Okay? Can be a little bit larger. You think about, I like to think about my arms as a swing and a swing set. So again, I'm turning sideways so that you can see what I'm talking about. So this is not correct. We're not just bending the elbows. We want the movement to come from the whole arm. Whole arm, so the elbows feel heavy, the fingertips feel light, the head is easing upward, and your feet are relaxed. And let your arms come to rest by your sides. Now we're going to do the leg portion of crane takes flight. So I'd like you to place one hand on the lower abdomen, again below the navel, and the other hand opposite. Again, if it's comfortable in your shoulder to do so, you don't have to. So it looks something like this. So the hands are roughly opposite one another. And all we're going to do is, with the idea that the head is easing upward, you're just going to bend your knees and hips a little bit, and hopefully you'll feel the lower back open a little bit. If you don't, that's fine. But you need to get a little bit of fold in the hip joint. This is the most important thing that you can do as a new beginner. We do a lot of different things during the class, but if you only want to do one or two things, this is going to be one of them. And here's how the feet feel. The feet feel totally relaxed, fully adhering to the floor, melding into the floor. And the bottom of the foot, the center of the bottom of the foot, the Chinese call it the Yung Chuan, or the bubbling well, is open. So imagine as you bend the knees and hips, you're sinking deep into the earth. You're sinking your energy deep into the earth. And that keeps your center of gravity low, and it helps with balance, and it helps release tension. Okay, now what the arms do is the palms face each other. We start out by bending the knees and hips, and we inhale. And as we breathe in, we straighten the legs, the elbows feel heavy, the wrists rise, no higher than the shoulders, and exhale, the elbows first. And this is why this is called crane takes flight, because of the arm movement. So we're breathing in and out, and the feet are relaxed and the toes are relaxed. Breathing in and out. Now, it's very important that the weight is evenly distributed over the whole foot. Breathing in and out. That will allow the knees to stay pointed straight ahead and the knees to line up with the toes. This is very important for your knees. If you have a tendency to pronate, and I do, many people do, that means that the knees go in a little bit, the weight shifts to the insides of the feet. So what some people do is when they bend the knees and hips, their knees come in. So I'm doing it incorrectly. So we don't want that. That's bad for your knees, okay? Want the knees pointed straight ahead. Imagine you have headlights on the fronts of your knees, and when you look straight ahead, you see that space between the knees. And the head is easing upward, and the chin is relaxed. Inhale and exhale. We'll do one more. And breathing in and out. Very good. And stay there. And we can do this next one. It's called bear rooting. This is the other thing that is so good for new beginners. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see how I do it with chair assist. Or like I say, I like to do this one with my fingertips just resting on the kitchen counter or in the bathroom. The bathroom is great because you've got a mirror there so you can see if you have a tendency to lean. Because what we're doing here, same hip width distance, you've got about 6 or 8 inches of space between your feet. What you really see my feet are so important. The classics, which I will quote from time to time, say that in Tai Chi, if there's a problem, seek the deficit in the feet. So my feet are hip width distance, the toes are pointed straight ahead. And if you want to get really picky about it, it's the second toe lines up with the center of the heel. Because your foot is not a square rectangle, right? It's wider by the toes. So if the insides of the feet are parallel, then the toes are going to be pointed out slightly. Okay, I think this is good. So fingertips resting on a surface, if you will. And then the knees and hips, like we just did. Again, watch the chin. You don't want the chin up. And we're just shifting the weight. So internally, we're dropping down through the center of one foot, dropping down through the center of the other foot, keeping the knees pointed straight ahead, right? Like you've got headlines. And notice how my shoulders stay level. Okay, I don't shift the weight by sending the hips out because that changes the emphasis on the feet. When I shift to the left, my weight goes to the outside of the left foot. This is bad for the hips and bad for the knees. So we really need to keep that lower body stable. And as seated, when doing this seated, you want to keep your breath relaxed always. And the arm is, the upper arm is even with the torso. When you do this seated, you're just sitting on the very front of the chair, remember, very front of the chair, and you pick up one foot and then pick up the other foot. Now, in order to do so, you have to still shift the weight. If you're on the very front of the chair, the feet will have weight. So internally, you kind of shift into your sits bone and then shift into the other sits bone. So again, I'm not doing this. We've got this plumb line from the top of the head to the bottom of the coccyx. So seated, we're shifting the weight. Okay? And of course, the first exercise, breath relaxed and arm swinging. Now for the, even to miss the side of the chair, if you have a chair that doesn't have arms and can even sit on the corner, you've got nothing under your thighs. So it's even easier, to do these other exercises. Okay, so those are the 2 most important exercises that as new beginners, I think it's great to practice every day. Just bending the knees and hips, knees pointed straight ahead, making sure the tailbone points down. You can start out like this or resting your fingertips. And then that's called bear rooting. No, this is just bend. This is the leg portion. Sorry, this is the leg portion of crane takes flight. And then the bear rooting is the separating the weight. So a couple of other things about this because it's so important. So I like my old slinky. I had to buy a new one. I had a slinky for 20 years and lost it. So internally, you can imagine that this is what's happening when you're shifting the weight, releasing down through one foot, down through the other, okay? And the whole time that you're doing that, the spine, each of these beads is a vertebra. So shifting the weight, the spine floats. The body's upright, but not by being rigid. So there's a little shifting here. And look what happens to my center. My center shifts as I shift. Okay, so far we've practiced relax, keeping the body upright, and separating the weight. The next one is waist is the commander. And I'm looking for my other visual aid here. And if I find it, I'll talk about that too. Okay, so waist is the commander. From this, again, neutral position, making sure the feet are parallel, toes pointing straight ahead, 6 to 8 inches of space between the feet. We'll do, this is called stable and open, which refers to the movement of the legs while gathering the stars. So we're going to start out just doing the legs. Okay, so but this is our posture. Again, I'm turning sideways so you can see, not out here, because it creates all kinds of tension up here, pitches you forward, brings the weight to the balls of the feet. You want body upright, so the knees are bent, and even a little fold here in the hips. Okay, so we're going to bend the knees and hips, shift into your right foot. Most of the weight's on your right foot. So think about this area being a wheel, and you're going to turn that area to the left, and the left toes are going to turn out just a little bit, and then come back. And then you're going to shift down into the center of the left foot and turn to the right. So the waist is the commander. Shift the weight first, and then turn the waist. Now, the weighted leg, that knee stays pointed straight ahead. Again, we've got to protect the knees by keeping the knees lined up with the toes. So you're releasing into the foot, turning out, and the head is floating up, and the breath is relaxed, and the tip of the tongue is gently touching the roof of the mouth. Okay, now the arm movement, the arms kind of mimic the lungs. We inhale as the arms and lungs expand, and exhale as we close. Elbows feel heavy without dropping down. Okay, so you don't want the elbows to be down like this. It's as though they're floating on water. Inhale and exhale, fingertips brushing the air. Okay, this is going to help us practice waist as the commander. Okay, so bending the knees and hips, sink into the right foot, turn to the left, inhale and exhale. Small waist turn, not a range of motion. So if you're on the face of a clock and turning to the right, the toes go towards 1. When we're facing front, we're at 12. Shift into the right, turn to the left to 11. All these exercises are coordination exercises, not range of motion exercises. Okay, continue to do that, and I'm going to do that on the chair as well. And I'm going to do it on the corner of my chair. If that's not an option, you just do the best you can with what you have. So again, I shift into my sits bone, and I just turn. And I'm turning from the hips. So hopefully you have a chair. A fabric chair is probably going to be awkward because the fabric of your clothing will probably not slide very well on the fabric of a chair. So a wood chair is best, or any kind of smooth. Yeah, so that's stable and open while separating the weight. Okay, so this waist is the commander. Let's just take a moment here to talk about the waist as the commander and how we turn. So when I say that the feet are like this, and when I talk about the weight being evenly distributed over the whole foot, so there are 3 points: the center of the heel, the area right behind the big toe, and the area right behind the little toe. If these 3 points have equal amount of pressure on the floor, then your weight will be evenly distributed over the whole foot. Okay, so you can think about these 3 points, and when we turn from the center of the heel. That keeps the foot flat on the floor. So let's see. I'm going to turn this way. So watch my feet. So I bend my knees and hips and shift, and when I turn, I just release the ball of my foot off the floor a little bit. That left knee stays straight. I turn out a little bit, and my waist turns back. So this whole area you can think of like a wheel, the whole hips. And I shift first, and then I turn. So the foot stays flat. What I'm not doing, most people turn out flat, but then when they come back, sometimes they drop in. You don't want to do that. I want to keep the foot flat. You know, it's so amazing. These small changes, these little incremental changes affect the way your hips and back and everything lines up. And if everything isn't lined up and you're moving it, then you create tension and eventually injury. So, all right, so we've done waist as the commander, right? Turning from here. So now we've practiced relax, separate the weight, body upright, and waist as the commander. From this posture, this stance where the feet are hip width distance and parallel is called the Ruchi position. It's called the basic stance, the horse stance, the neutral stance. It has lots of different names, but that's where that's what that's called. Now, if you feel as you do things, I mean, everybody's body is built a little differently. Some people, their shoulders are much bigger than their hips. Some people, their hips are bigger than their shoulders. So you have some flexibility in terms of the distance. So you don't want to be narrower than your hip width distance, but you can go shoulder width distance if that's more comfortable, but you don't want to be wider than shoulder width distance. So for some people, that's a big change, and for some others, it's a small change. So one of my teachers said many years ago, he said, you do Tai Chi with your body, not with my body or somebody else's body. So it's your hip width distance, your shoulder width distance, you know, what works for you. Okay, so the last, I want to check the time. Very good, we have lots of time. So the last exercise in part one of the basic movement patterns is called bear walking. And in this one, we change the position of the feet. So far we've been working with the feet in this parallel hip width distance. And now we're going to move into another posture where we're going to keep that distance between our feet because we need to have that stable base. So you can imagine that there's a ladder on the floor or balance beam or railroad track, and one foot turns out, the rear foot turns out a little bit, and then the front foot, we step out a little bit. So we have a broad base, and when we do it on the other side, it looks like this. So we don't want to be too narrow because then we're tippy. Now, Tai Chi is, it's a martial art. And the training, as I've said, depends on, not on force and strength. It's an internal style like Aikido is, but it depends on sensitivity and timing and learning how to be stable and rooted so that you can respond to change, the change being whatever's coming at you. And certainly in our daily life, in our practical life, whatever changes on the sidewalk while you're walking, you know, something falls down. One of the things that I noticed over time is, you know, I'd knock something over, a pencil's rolling off the counter, and I'm there. My hand just is there. So this mental exercise as well. It's mostly physical when you start out as a beginner. It's like 20%. My master teacher, Mr. Lowe, said is 20% mental and 80% physical. And the longer you practice, the balance switches. And eventually it's like 80% mental and 20% physical. So we're training the mind as we're training the body. And this stance, again, I'm going to emphasize the feet here, because once we get into our form work, this is so critical. So the stance is, so when you're hip width distance like this, you're pretty stable left to right. You know, your knees are bent, you're soft, someone's pushing on you or whatever. But not so much front and back, right? You don't have that much distance. But when you have the feet like this, notice I keep the distance between my feet on the diagonal, knee lines up, and I step out. I still have that distance between my feet. You know, if the toe is pointed straight ahead, I maintain that. Now, with most of the weight of my front foot in my 70-30, I can move out of the way, I can move back, I can move left, I can move right, I can turn, and I have a broad base. You know, the broadest base would be if I had 4 legs, but I only have 2. So this is the best stance for stability. You know, again, keeping the distance, shifting and turning. And for those of you who've been doing this all along, all we do in the first part of the form is we shift the weight, turn the waist, we go back and forth. And if the tailbone's heavy and the body's upright, I've got that spine, we've got all that. Okay, let's get back to work. Enough rest. So last one. Start out from the basic stance, feet parallel. Bending the knees and hips, shift into the left foot. Turn to the right, turn the right toes out just a little bit. So we're 12, right toes go out towards 1, all the way into the right foot. Relax here, look at your foot, step straight out with the left foot. Try to set it down without too much weight. Empty is ideal, but don't put a lot of weight in it yet. Make sure your hips are facing front, and then bend the knees and hips, drop into the center of the front foot. So the rear heel stays on the floor. Now drop into the rear foot, and the toes of the left foot stay flat on the floor. So we're just shifting the weight. Think internally, down into the center of the right foot, down into the center of the left foot. Don't think forward and back. Think into the center of the foot and into the center of the foot. So I'm just showing you when I turn sideways. So my body stays upright, right? I've got that nice plumb line. I'm not leaning back and I'm not leaning forward, okay? And my center of gravity stays low. Okay, now we're going to change sides. So all the way into the right foot, pick up the left foot, bring it straight back so the heels line up. As you shift into the left foot, let your hips line up with the right foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of right heel. And the feet should be parallel again. We're just going to do the other side. Shift down into the right foot, turn to the left, turn the left toes out a little bit, all the way in the left foot. Relax here. Step straight out with the right foot. And shifting the weight. Okay, and I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what the arms do. So when the weight's on the rear foot, the arms are down by your sides. When you drop into the center of the front foot, the wrists just rise, shoulder high and shoulder width. Again, don't think forward and back. Dropping into the center of the right foot, the wrists rise, and you inhale and exhale. So as the lungs expand, the arms expand. And you want the elbows to feel heavy and the fingertips to feel light. And the belly is relaxed. There's no tension in the stomach. The knees and the hips are bent. And we inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then all the way in the left foot, bring the right foot straight back. Shift into the right foot. Let the hips line up with the left foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the left heel. Okay, and then we're back to that Ruchi position where the feet are parallel. To close, we shift into the left foot, we turn to the right, turn the right toes out just a tiny bit, all the way into the right foot, pick up the left foot and bring it in at a small angle so we're back to point. Okay, and I'm going to demonstrate briefly when you're seated and do this. Again, I like the corner because it gives me a greater range of motion. And yeah. So, you turn one foot out, you sit in the sits bone, you release here, step out a little bit. Now, when you shift the weight, this is my spine, top of the head, tailbone. You shift the weight by bending forward. And don't think about being rigid, just think about having the head suspended. So, as you shift into the front foot, the wrists rise. As you shift into the rear foot, they come back. And just inhale and exhale. And the wrists rise and the elbows are heavy. And that's how you do it seated. Okay, I don't see any questions in chat. And so we're going to go move on to the form work, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the form facing you. Focus on my feet. We start with the feet in that point. I'm not going to go very slowly because this is just like a little demo for people who are joining for the first time. And for those of you who've been here a while, okay, this is the Ruchi position. This is preparation. And this is just like the feet are just what we've been doing, right? We get into that 70-30 posture. And then once we're in the 70-30 posture, we're shifting the weight. That's why that last exercise is so great. So the arms do different things, but we're shifting the weight. And then we change sides. And we're shifting the weight and changing the hands. So the waist is the commander, means that if the waist is moving forward, that's how the waist changes. If the waist is turning, that's another way that the waist changes. It looks like there's a question. Oh, okay. Here, perhaps. All right. And so we're going to start from point again. I'm going to do the mirror image, and then I will turn around. I think in some ways it's easier, even though you can't see as well. I think it's easier to follow along. So from point, take a few moments to relax and settle here. Let your arms feel heavy, head is floating up. And begin by bending the knees and hips, shift into the right foot, stepping out with the left foot, hip width distance, toes straight, shift into the left. Let the hips line up with your right foot. Now turn your waist, pivoting on the center of the right foot, shift to the middle, and as you rise, the arms change into the Ruchi position. Check your feet, make sure they're parallel and hip width distance. I'm going to turn sideways to show you the Ruchi position. Upper arm even with the torso, elbows bent slightly, the wrist is straight and open. So now we can do ladies' beautiful hands. And so we were here and here. And preparation, the wrist change 5 times. Breathing in as the wrists rise, elbows heavy, wrist shoulder high, shoulder width. 2, the palms face the floor. 3, the wrists slide towards the shoulders, relax. 4, the elbows sink, the wrists sink, the fingers float up. We're back to the Ruchi position. Okay, ward off left side, bend the knees and hips, shift into the left foot. Turn to the right, turn the right toes out, and form the ball. The right hand's on top, left hand's on the bottom. Left hand is below the navel. Now your head is easing upward, bend the knees and hips, shift all the weight into the right foot, keep your hips lined up with the right foot. Step with the left, you can look, make sure it's not too narrow. Very important not to come in. Keep that distance. And you want the knee to point straight ahead. So that means you have to feel the contact that the outside of the foot has with the floor. Now bend the knees and hips, drop into the center of the right foot, shift most of the weight into the right foot, turn to the front, and you change the hands. The left hand comes up along the center line, turns and faces the sternum. The right hand goes down the center line and out to the side. This is ward off left side. The left palm is protecting the heart and lungs. Now, as we sink into the right foot, the right hand comes up. As we sink into the left foot, the right hand comes to the inside of the left. This is called press. I'm going to turn sideways again so you can see the angle. I'm not out here because it brings the shoulders and hips forward. The elbows feel heavy. Okay? And just the palms touch so you can see all your fingers. Okay, the left palm is facing you. Left hand turns down and up. The hands are still touching. The right hand wipes off the back of the left. And we bend the knees and hips, shift into the rear foot. The elbows are heavy, bringing the hands towards the shoulders. Don't lower the hands, all right? The hands stay about shoulder height, and then shift back into the front foot, into the 70-30, extending the arms. This is called push. It looks like this. Okay, so let's go back to point, and I'll do that with my back to you. I'm gonna make sure you can see my feet. And while you're in point, relax the breath, head's easing upward, tailbone's heavy. And begin, bending the knees and hips, sinking all the weight into the right foot. Step out with the left foot, the toes point straight ahead, get your hip width distance. Go ahead and look if you need to. Then sink into the earth through the center of the left foot. Let your hips line up with the right foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the center of the right heel, shift to the middle. And as you rise, the arms change into the Ruchi position. Wrists are straight. Imagine the energy going out the fingertips. And for preparation, elbows feel heavy. You inhale as the wrists rise. Then you just breathe naturally. Fingertips point to the floor. Then the palms face the floor. Third time the wrists change. The wrists slide towards the shoulders. And the wrists relax like a puppy begging. And the elbows sink. The wrists sink. The fingers float up slightly, like they're moving through water, and then we're back to the Ruchi position. Ward off left side. Bend the knees and hips, shift down into the left foot. Turn to the right, turn the right toes out, forming the ball, right hand's on top, left hand's below the navel. Bend both hips, shift all the way into the right foot. Try to keep your hips lined up with the right foot. Step with the left, you can look. And then bend the knees, sinking into the left foot. Most of the weight's in the left leg. Turn the waist, keep the weight in your left leg. Change the hands. The left hand comes up outside the right hand, palm is facing the sternum, and the right arm goes into the Ruchi position. Now, as you sink into the right foot, the right hand comes up. Keep the left hand away from your body. As you shift into the left foot, the right hand comes to the inside of the left. Left hand turns down and up. The hands separate. Shift down into the right foot. Hands come towards the shoulders and release the push. Okay, now we're going to change sides. So we're going to bend the knees and hips, shift into the right foot, and the hands come towards the shoulders. Turn to the left, turn the left toes out a little bit. The right hand drops down. Now we're holding the ball with the left hand on top. When you turn to the left hand's on top. When we turn to the right hand's on top. All the way down into the left foot so we can step with the right foot. You're going to have to look here because you want the toes to point straight ahead. Again, make sure you have that hip width distance. The right knee is tracking in line with the right toes as you sink into the center of the right foot. Then you turn the waist, change the hands. The right hand comes up facing the sternum. The left hand goes down. Most of the weight's in the right leg, 70%. This is ward off right side. Now bend the knees and hips, shift into the left foot. Shift into the right foot. The left hand comes to the inside of the right. Now the right palm is facing you. The hands keep contact. Right hand turns down and up. The hands separate. Shift the weight. Hands come towards the shoulders. Release the push. Now all the weight goes into the right foot. Step up with the left foot. We're going to go back to Ruchi. So the left foot's across from the right. Shift to the middle. And as you rise, the arms go into the Ruchi position. And if we continue from Ruchi, or we can close here. Bend the knees and hips, shift into the left foot, turn to the right, turn the right toes out a little bit, all the way into the right foot, pick up the left foot, bring it in, and we're back to point. And that's why it's called first circle, because we start from point and can go back to point. Let's take a short break. I need to get a drink of water, which I have right here. I'll be right back. And think if you have any questions, let me know. So I'm going to go over the arm movements. You know, as I've said before, there's a lot of information in this class. We have all these warm-ups to do. I'm talking about principles, and then we have our form work. And it's just the more time you do it, the more often you can attend the class. You'll start to remember all this stuff, and it will make sense. So a word about the arms. So as I've said, Tai Chi is a martial art. And it's also, because it's Taoist and kind of Confucian philosophy, there's yin and yang, there's the whole thing about Qi and blocking Qi and meridians and all this stuff, most of which I know very little about. I just know that doing Tai Chi has really improved my life in many ways. So when we're forming the ball or holding the ball, the top hand, as I say, when you turn to the right hand's on top. When we turn to the left hand's on top. So forming the ball, the top hand is across from the center of the sternum, roughly here, about a hand's distance from the bottom. And the bottom hand is palm up about 1.5 inches below the navel. So I don't know if I've mentioned this yet. The Chinese believe that this spot, 1.5 inches below the navel, 1/3 of the way inside the body, is called the Tantian, is where the Qi collects before it travels through the body. So when we're holding the ball, the bottom hand's across from that. Okay. When we change the hands move along the center line. Bottom hand comes up, turns and faces the sternum. Top hand goes down. Okay. And then when we change sides, we hold the ball this way. Okay. So go ahead and form the ball. Doesn't matter which hand is on top, as long as, you know, top hand's across from the sternum, bottom hand's here. Try to maintain the distance between your hands. And just turn the ball sideways. Okay. And then bring your hands towards your body. And you'll find that it's probably approximately hip width distance. So holding the ball, turning the ball, this whole area is where our vital organs are. Okay, so energetically moving, lots of things happen, but again, we're generally protecting this area. So the hands are, there's almost always one hand in front of the body or near the front of the body to kind of protect the body. So, you know, we have this opening movement preparation. And then we form the ball. I'll do the mirror image. First, the right hand's on top. Okay, and we change the hands, right? The left hand comes up along the outside. Right hand goes down the center line into the Ruchi position. Okay, then when we shift the weight, I'm going to turn sideways to start. When we shift the weight, the right elbow bends. And when we shift into the front foot, that's the waist is the commander. Shifting into the front foot is what brings the right hand to the left. Now look here. See, I've got my thumb and my pinky. See the place where they meet? It's right on my center line, right about here. Okay, and the angle is like this. It's not vertical and it's not out here. So I was here, comes up. The heels of the hands touch. There's a slight angle. This is like an equilateral triangle. Okay. This, with the idea with the elbows feeling heavy, keeps the neck and shoulders really relaxed. And then the palm that's facing you turns up. The hands separate. Okay. Now it's not out here in front of the shoulders. And this top knuckle is roughly even with the shoulders. So again, equilateral triangle here. And that's the arms in the first circle. So I think we have time to hopefully do that at least once. So let's go through that whole first circle again. I'm going to do it with my back to you because I think it's easier to follow along in the long run. Okay, just want to make sure you can see me. Okay, front point. Again, feet relaxed. Head easing upward, and begin bending the knees and hips, sinking into the right foot. Step up with the left foot, the toes point straight ahead. Shift into the left foot, hips line up with the right foot. Turn to the front, pivoting on the heel. Shift to the middle, into the Ruchi position. Preparation. Breathing in as the wrists rise. Elbows sink, bringing the hands up flat. Palms face the floor. Wrists relax. Wrists sink, fingers float up gently, back to Ruchi. Ward off left side. Bending the knees and hips, shift into the left. Turn to the right, right toes out, right hands on top. All the weights in the right foot. Step with the left foot, keep your hip width distance. Shift down into the center of the left foot. Keep the weight on the left foot, turn the waist. Change the hands. The left hand comes up, the left palm faces the sternum. The right arm is in Ruchi. This is ward off left side. As we shift into the right hand comes up. As we shift into the left, the right hand goes to the inside of the left into the press. Left hand turns down and up and the hands separate. Shift down into the right foot, hands come towards the shoulders, release the push. To change sides, we shift down into the right foot, that brings the hands towards the shoulders. Waist turn to the left, turns the left toes out a little bit, left foot's going to be the rear foot, holding the ball with the left hand on top. All the way into the left foot, step with the right foot. Now shift down into the center of the right foot. Most of the weight's in the right leg. Turn the waist, change your hands. The right hand comes up. Ward off right side, the left arm's in Ruchi. As we shift into the left hand comes up. As we shift into the right, the left hand comes to the inside of the right hand. This is press. Right hand turns down and up. The hands separate. Shift the weight. And shift the weight again into the 70-30. All the way into the right foot, step up with the left. As you rise, we're back in the Ruchi position. Let's just stay in Ruchi briefly to settle here. Relax the feet. Knees, tailbone, elbows feel heavy. Head, eyes, fingertips feel light. Chin is relaxed. Head is easing upward, tailbone has weight. And to close, bend the knees and hips, shift into the left, turn to the right, turn the right toes out slightly, all the way into the right foot. Pick up the left foot, bring it in, and we're back to point. Okay, let me see if there are any questions. And I'm going to check the time again. So we have just about 1 minute. Let me just take 30 seconds. And again, showing things seated. And I will spend a little more time next time. But, so The chair's in point. Move into Ruchi. Remember, we shift the weight in the chair. And then to change sides, you'll have to bring the left foot back. And then here we have it. And then you just bring the other foot back. Sitting and holding Ruchi is really wonderful as well. Okay, so I'm gonna thank you all, and I'm gonna let Sandy finish us up here.
Okay, guys, I just wanted to thank you again for joining us today. And remember to check out our other programs on our website, aarp.org/Missouri. And have a great day. Thank you, Shelley. Great class. I hope everybody enjoyed it.